What's up, everyone? Come back with me. It's Ramnes. Today, I'm going to share my latest research regarding AI held content generation. I'm going to be using Python and AWS services such as AWS Lambda function, S3, which stands for Simple Storage Services, and AWS Bedrock, which store a lot of large language model that you can use to run your Lambda function. And without any further ado, let's see what's we can get when we're using this type of architecture. Well, this is the AWS services that I'm using here, but before we run through one by one for the services that we're going to be using, let's see the generation of text that we get from Llama 3 here. And this is the copywriting generated by AI. Why do we use AWS? Because it would enable us to integrate it with a lot of services if we are doing it on the cloud instead of in local services. That's the reason. Okay. This is the AWS architecture that we're going to be using, like I've already mentioned, but I didn't put IAM, which stand for Identity Access Management, and the HTTP for the endpoint that we're gonna hit to get the response from the AWS Lambda function. Well, like already mentioned, AWS Lambda function will run the bedrock to the Python code. The output will be stored in Amazon S3 or simple storage services, and you can access it in API gateway. This all there's no complicated architecture that I'm going to share for right now. And this is the code. I'm going to share it later on in my GitHub. I'll attach it as well so you guys can uh, follow along by yourself. And before you using AWS Lambda, you need to set up the environment, and it requires you to upload the zip file which contains all of this code. And to get that correctly, so you just follow the instruction like pip install boto3 -t python. Just make sure you create a new folder called Python, just exactly like what I'm highlighting here. Well, if everything's been set up, so let's move to the AWS services that I'm using. For the role, of course, you need to create a role, and you need to point out that the services that you're going to access is for the Lambda. Well, when you already set that up, you just go to Lambda, and in Lambda, you can just click Lambda, and we need to wait and see, or you need to recreate it because I already create one. I don't want to create another one. And here you can see that I've layers one. When you just create it by yourself, the layers will be 0. And you just need to go down here and add layer and upload the zip file that already mentioned. And then you can just go with the code that I've attached here on my GitHub. Just put it in AWS Lambda actually, and it's still running. I mean coding. So you also need to create a bucket here when to, like I mentioned, to store the output from the large language model that's already put prompt into it. Well, this is the cloud ones. Actually, this is the logs when you like to track what type of error you get and how to debug it. And this is the API gateway that I've already created to be interacting with the API that is contained the AWS Bedrock, the large language model that I'm using. Well, when everything is good, you can go to AWS Bedrock here. And AWS Bedrock actually choose the model. This is the you go here to chat, and uh, this type of option will appears, and when it appears, of course, you can just choose uh, for the model that you already get the access to it. And if you don't have an access to it, could just you could just ask for a request, and they will accept it, and you can use the model. And be careful, you also need to see the pricing first before you're using the model. Well, when everything is well informed, that you can go here to access, to request for access. If able to request, just click it, and then you can just use it. Well, this is the example when, well, this actually the endpoint here from the HTTP or the API gateway sensor it, so you guys can access it. Well, if everything goes well, you're gonna be having this for the API trigger block topic is written in the function. So just click hit button or send, and you're gonna get this response block is generated successfully. When it's already generated successfully, you can check that out in the bucket you created and you appointed to receive the output, which is this is block, and just click the txt file, and you can just download it or open it. You're gonna see this file. Well, everything is clear, and block is generated based on this architecture, and you can use any model based on the pricing that suit your research budget. Um, there are already Llama 4, but I'm not using that thing since the compute computation cost is much higher than the lower model with lower parameter. Well, I think that's all that I'm going to share to you, and I hope you guys can get insight for what I've already shared. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a good holiday, and see you guys next time.